What's up, War Rapport family? We're back with another great edition of Building Rapport. Today we have a really special guest. Head coach of Auburn Gymnastics, Jeff Graba, joins us to talk a little bit about his program and his student athletes and what's going on. Coach, how's it going this morning?
That's great. Thanks for having me.
Well, I want to get this kicked off talking a little bit about, you're in your 13th year with Auburn Gymnastics. Tell us what that journey has been like, why you chose Auburn and why Auburn is special to you.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, the journey's been crazy. It's been quite a ride. I will start from the beginning. I'm not sure I chose Auburn as much as Auburn chose me. I was at University of Utah as an assistant coach and had a desire to be a head coach. But in a lot of, normally speaking, you don't really get to choose where you go to be the head coach. I just was looking for an opportunity, and I was lucky enough that Auburn, Jay Jacobs was the athletic director at the time, and he gave me an opportunity that I was looking for. And once I got to Auburn and figured out, what Auburn was all about, it's quite a bit different than I thought it was going to be. It's amazing once you're here. But, on the outside looking in, everybody talks about family and all that type of stuff. It's just not, I didn't know that it was actually true until, you got to be here for 6 months or a year. And then it starts, I see what they're saying. So I'm just lucky that I got the opportunity here.
Well, Coach, again, thank you for coming in today. Just wanted to kind of dig in a little bit into your, you talked about your previous coaching background, but what got you into gymnastics? Like, what was the thing that made you say, you know what? Yeah, I want to pursue a career of being in gymnastics.
I'm not sure completely what got me into gymnastics as far as a career. It was paying the bills. I guess that would be the
That's important. That's important.
Yeah, always an effective motivator.
Very effective motivator. I was actually, my brother and I were actually pretty darn good at wrestling. I grew up on a dairy farm in northern Minnesota, and really there wasn't gymnastics up there. There was wrestling, and that's a pretty normal thing for a farm kid to do is do some wrestling. And our wrestling coach actually wanted us to get into dance and that type of stuff to work on footwork and stuff. And my mom put my brother and I in a dance class, but it's at the same place that my younger sister was, as she was taking tumbling lessons. And after one dance class, my brother and I looked at each other like, I'd rather do that. Let's go over there and do the flipping around thing, and I'll get better doing that. And honestly, just after that, I just fell in love with the sport. It's one of the sports that you're in full control of your destiny. It's all on you. It is an individual sport. It can be a team sport, but when you're young like that, you don't need to be the biggest, the fastest, the strongest to be really good at the sport of gymnastics. You just have to be good at what you can be good at, and you have to work really hard at it. So there was a variety of avenues for my brother and I, who aren't the tallest people in the world, who aren't the biggest people in the world, but there were avenues for us to be pretty good at this sport, and it was all on us. So I really fell in love with that aspect of it.
Yeah, I actually, I was at the Tennessee game for when Auburn basketball played, and I randomly in the hotel lobby ran into a guy from Minnesota, and he was telling me the same thing that you just said, that the culture of wrestling is insane in the state of Minnesota. Like, that is the thing that people do. And I didn't know. I didn't, not from, that area. I had no idea. My natural assumption would have been something like hockey, because I just assume everybody in northern states plays hockey for some reason. Because
we did. We both played hockey, because I think that's a requirement in Minnesota. You get skates no matter if you like it or not.
Okay.
We just weren't big enough for hockey. Hockey was getting bigger and bigger and stronger and faster and that type of stuff. And wrestling, we were in the lower weight classes. So
same reason why I don't play football, and I'm from Alabama.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, you're right. We did play hockey, but I was getting beat up pretty good at hockey too. So.
Coach, let's talk a little bit about your current program and the monster you're building with Auburn Gymnastics. Auburn is going into their 4th straight year recruiting a 5-star gymnast. Now, obviously, SUNY gets a lot of attention, but you guys got Olivia Ahern coming in, and you guys have Hollingsworth, and you guys have got just some great gymnasts. Talk to us about Auburn becoming a premier destination for gymnasts, because Alabama has been good at gymnastics for a long time. Oklahoma, Utah, those schools have been good for a long time. Talk about getting those athletes in and challenging the status quo as far as the pecking order in college gymnastics.
Yeah, it's hard to challenge the pecking order in any sport. Nobody likes more talented teams. Nobody likes to make it more difficult to succeed. So it is an uphill battle, has been an uphill battle for us to compete against those blue bloods. I think part of the reason we're competing against them pretty well right now is because we've done some great recruiting. But the recruiting is there's a number of things people come for. One is success. Obviously, when I got here, I couldn't point to, we weren't a blue blood program. I couldn't point to, hey, we've been to this many national championships, that type of thing. So I had to look at the other two reasons that young athletes will go to programs. One is there's not a lot of gymnastics programs in the country that have large, crazy environments like we have. We had to build that, but it was something we felt we could do. We could build the environment and then they would show up. It's almost like that Field of Dreams thing.
Right.
You build it and they will come.
Right.
It was hard to build, but not in the city of Auburn. These Auburn fans will show up as you're building your program. Bruce showed that as well. And then the other thing, the final piece of the puzzle is coaching philosophy. There are a few different philosophies in our sport. My philosophy is a little bit athlete first. They have a lot of voice in our program. Not all programs, most programs aren't like that. I would hazard a guess. So we stood out in a couple of areas. We stood out in the fact that if you come here, you'll have a voice in your training, and it'll be listened to. But also, you're gonna be competing on national TV in front of sold out, crazy arenas, and then the main thing was you get here. Suni came here because she wanted to start this thing.
No,
like,
yeah.
I want to be the reason you guys get over the hump, and then we had some great recruiting classes ahead of that convinced her that we could get over the hump if she and a couple others were able to come all at once, and that's why we have Olivia Greaves right here. She's a little bit dinged up this year and can't compete. But we are going into a string now of 5 stars that are showing up on campus to compete. So the future is definitely very bright.
Expound or explain a little bit more about the recruitment of Suni Lee. Obviously, she brings a circus with her wherever she goes as a gold medal winning gymnast. Talk about that recruitment and that pitch. And, also, I want you to elaborate a little bit on how NIL factored into her return to gymnastics this year.
Yeah. Recruiting her, she had been to a bunch of our camps down here, but that's partially because she's my brother's athlete. So my brother and I coach very similar. Now, we're sort of like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. We each take a perspective when we coach together. When we're by ourselves, we have to be the whole coach, obviously. But she knew she was getting that. She knew what she was getting when she came down here. She knew the style of coach. She knew by default that I knew what I was talking about most of the time, because if my brother's good enough to get her there, and my brother and I talk gymnastics every single day, and I'm in the gym a lot, and he's down here at our camps, she felt very comfortable with that. So the recruit, she could have gone anywhere in the country.
Yeah.
The reason she came here was comfortability. She just knew that she was going to be fine here. She knew she was going to be taken care of here. She knew she was going to have a voice. But she knew we were committed that, if your dreams are Olympics, we're going to help you with that. It was pretty easy to figure out. Like my brother would say, he can't lie to you. He won't be allowed in for Christmas dinner. So, so that's part of the draw. NIL, she wouldn't have, obviously we knew she was capable of winning the gold medal, but she hadn't won it when she had committed here and all that. We do know that NIL, without NIL, she doesn't show up on campus in the first place, because you win the gold medal, you just go make your money.
Right.
So thank goodness for NIL, because she actually was able to show up, and the other Olympians that were on the team with her were able to go to their colleges and do the same thing. So NIL now, it's a lot more of a balancing act. She came back for a number of reasons. NIL it's available to her, so I don't think she felt like she was losing out by coming back on NIL opportunities. In fact, I think some of the thought process is that she's on TV a lot. She has a lot of, it's almost free publicity to a certain extent. So it's not hurting her to be here. And she wanted one more run at being a part of a team and doing something special like this. But you know, you got to be smart. She don't even have a full year and a half after this before it goes crazy. She's basically got about 11 months to get ready to be full speed for the Olympics. And we were all on the same page. We all totally agreed. Let's do that, because I want her to make the next Olympic team. I want her to be highly competitive at the next Olympics because of what Auburn did for her.
Right. Right. Has she talked to you at all about finishing her degree once she's done with gymnastics and coming back to Auburn? Oh
yeah. And you know, Auburn is going to be, you know, we did that with Cam Newton. We did that with a number of, I view it as she's going pro. You know, she's going to go to the NFL. She's going to go to the NBA. She's just going to the Olympics. So yeah, she can come back, and she also has the ability to exercise a 5th year after the Olympics if she wants to come back. So we talked about all of that. But we all sort of agree it's an option, but we don't think about that in the middle of the process. I'm open to it. She's open to it, but I don't know what it's going to look like in 2 years. If she's making a ton of money and on some, you know, TV shows or something like that, she probably can't do it. If she feels like it's something she wants to do, I'd be stupid not to figure out a way to get her back here. So yeah, it's very important to us that she has that opportunity. And even if she doesn't want to compete, she has the opportunity to finish her degree from Auburn. So, yeah, absolutely.
All right, Coach, you mentioned the environment being a big portion of the selling point. So let's talk about this environment, because we have, as you know, a very rabid fan base. The jungle in basketball, Jordan-Hare Stadium's on fire for football. The Gymnastics, a lot of people don't like them. You know, it's polarizing. How did that become a thing, and just kind of how does that play into kind of the environment that people have to step into when they come and face Auburn Gymnastics at home?
You know, here's the deal. If people liked them, it wouldn't be a very intimidating environment.
That's fair enough.
The last thing you want is your competitors to go, I really keep doing that. That's good for us. I think the thing the Gymnastics started, I think they were 1 year old when I got here. There were a couple of engineering students on campus that were really excited about supporting some of the sports that weren't getting supported at the time. And being engineering students, they were like fired up about all the physics and math behind the sport with all the flipping and that type of stuff. So they started showing up the last year of the Coliseum, and that was the year right before I got here. So when I got here, it was like, I don't know if it was like 4 or 5 people total. And I think they came in the first meet and didn't have their shirts on and spelled like Eagle, you know, and we just embraced it, thought it was great. They weren't very intimidating. They actually asked permission to take pictures with the opposing team. And like, not the most intimidating student section you've ever had in your entire life.
Right.
But they were passionate. They showed up everywhere. They went and showed up at some of the road meets that we've gone to. So, and over time it just grew. It just started into this thing that after a while they couldn't figure out big enough words to spell. So they started spelling sentences out, and it was a fantastic for our fan atmosphere. And it really gave us something like the jungle for basketball, like the crazy student section, you know, like the fact that we throw the ball out of the stadium when they score. I just love that. It's like, it's a little bit of a intimidation tactic. It's a fun thing to do, and it doesn't hurt anybody. So that's what I was looking for.
Awesome.
Awesome. Uh, Coach, I want to stick with the environment because I was in the house to cover you guys' meet versus Georgia. You guys absolutely crushed them. It felt like in every event. But one thing that I noted, and when Isaac and I were students, we were early 2000s at Auburn. So gymnastics meets were not full back then.
True.
In the old in the old Coliseum. But again, have you had a chance to talk to some of the coaches, other coaches in the league about the environment created at Auburn? I mean, for the Georgia meet, it was as full as basketball. I mean, the upper deck was full. I was in awe of how full it was every time. I mean, people were going crazy every time Suni didn't get a 10 on just breathing. People went nuts. I mean, can you have a chance to get the other coaches' perspective on the environment? And do you feel like maybe you, and honestly, do you feel like you guys have the best gymnastics environment in the SEC?
We have the best gymnastics environment in the country, I believe.
Okay.
And I would say I have talked to quite a few coaches. Many other teams. We had a team come for regionals last year, and they were so frustrated that the gymnasties weren't down low because we had to push. We had so many teams on the floor that we sold them, and they went into the orange seats. But they wanted desperately to compete in front of that type of an environment. So if you're a gymnast, you spend your whole life competing in front of family and friends in huge arenas and with a lot of other really quality athletes, but it's very rarely are you in front of huge crowds that are crazy like ours. So most of the other teams in the country want to be in front of crowds like that and craziness like that. So yeah, I think imitation is the best form of flattery, and I can see now that other student sections are popping up. We went to Tuscaloosa this year, and they have a gymnastics section right by the beam. So I love that because everybody's seeing this, and it's going to be good for their environment, and which means when we're there, it's going to be harder for us, which is good for us.
Right. But you're used to dealing with that environment all the time. So, I mean, you've got to have it. You've got to have an edge, right? Like,
and sometimes it's easier when they don't like you. Sometimes it's easier to be hated than loved. So,
right.
but we're really good at being in front of a crazy environment because it's so crazy in our arena. We're just more comfortable. And I think the more teams that continue to build, look, the SEC is populated with great environments. So most of the SEC teams are ready to go. They can beat anybody on any given night. But across the country, people are watching what we're doing and trying to imitate it.
Coach, let's talk rivalry here for a second. So I want to dig into, there's a lot of encouragement, I feel like, in gymnastics. High fives, great job. Talk to me about the team you hate that you want to crush every time you guys go up against them. Now, I mean, you guys gave Georgia the business. It was impressive. But, is it Alabama by default? Or, I mean, you've been coaching a long time. Is there one school where you go up and you're just like, you know what? Well, like them. So we're gonna tumble and flip our way to a beatdown.
I don't know. I mean, for a coach, for me personally, it's always been Georgia because when I was at Utah, Georgia won 5 national championships and we finished second, third, sixth. So I always harbored a grudge. So so maybe, but I don't think I have anything to do with what we did on Friday night, really. Right. I mean, that's the athletes. I think it sort of changes. Look, anybody in the SEC you want to beat. They're all tough. It used to be Alabama was the biggest rivalry. I think it still is. It's the Iron Bowl of gymnastics. It's just a little bit different because my old assistant coach is up there running that program, and a lot of these gymnasts on my team love her. So it's really hard to to try to want to kill somebody that you have a lot of respect for and love them. But I really think when we get into postseason, it's really whoever is in our way to move through. And generally speaking, it's going to be an SEC team that's in our way. You've got to beat somebody I tell everybody it's easier if you do the math, it might be easier to win the national championship than the SEC championship,
Right.
because the SEC championship most of the time has a higher ranked average team in it. Like right now, I think on any given year, half of the top 16 teams, 8 of them are in the SEC.
Right.
So we own 50% of the top programs in the country.
How much does last year's Final Four result sting, and how are the athletes, getting ready for possibly their next Final Four experience?
I think it was good and bad at the same time. Obviously, I think the frustrating part with the Final Four was that our Elite Eight meet was better than our Final Four meet, and I think that's the frustration. We got beat by some really good teams in that meet, and I try to let everybody understand, like, our sport is all about experience. I think that was our third finals appearance in the history of the program.
Mm-hmm.
And Florida, Oklahoma, and Utah were the other teams in there. Utah has only missed the finals once, I believe, maybe twice. So they have never missed the semifinals. So that's, I think, 36, and they've won 10 national championships. So the other teams we were up against had won, I believe, 18 national championships between them, and we'd been there 3 times. So it's a completely different animal. We're trying to go, okay, well, how do you prep for this? Here's how you prep. Here's when you stretch. Here's when you rest. Here's how you eat. And those guys are like, hey, let's go back the last decade. We've done this, and this, and it's always worked. So we're just going to keep doing that.
Right.
To me, it's more like we needed to start to believe we belonged there and to get our own system on how to succeed there. So I think we walked away from that going, okay, pretty good job, but we've got to get better. We've got to sharpen the tools.
Coach, I want to go back and talk about the young tumbler that was out there on the mats in Minnesota. What was like the thing in gymnastics that you felt really good about, like that you could do? Like I was really amazing at this event in gymnastics. Like, what was the thing that you prided yourself on as a young gymnast?
I would say that I was sort of built to be good at the rings. My shoulders were pretty good. I'm shorter, sort of a compact frame. That helps with some of the ring stuff. I liked the floor exercise. I liked high bar. I liked P bars. I liked those things. But generally speaking, I think I had the most success on rings. And my brother was really good on high bar. So I think I could have been good on high bar, or better than him. I could have been better on high bar. He was just better at it than me, and I was better at rings than him. So, but I think the thing we enjoyed about it the most was that you get to create yourself in our sport. You get to build yourself, and in a lot of the other sports, you have to fit into something. Like if you're lean and strong and fast in football, you're going to fit into a couple areas. You're probably not going to be a defensive lineman if you're lean, So for us, in our sport, these are the things that you can do if you're fast. These are the things you can do if you're technical, and if you're tall, if you're short. So you just got to maximize your strengths. I love that about it, and therefore rings should have been something I was good at, so I better go maximize that.
Coach, who's the better? Hold on, who's the better gymnast, you or your brother?
Oh, it's funny. He might be. I might have been a better wrestler. I don't know. He might have been a better gymnast.
Okay.
We'd always be good at different things, because I think he's an identical twin. So
right.
I think some of it was like when we played hockey, he was actually playing left and I was playing right, because if it was just the two of us on the ice, that was the best way to have face-offs and all that other stuff. So you almost take the other perspective. I don't know who would have been best if we'd have just been ourselves and not had the twin in the room.
I have a question about what you feel like is the hardest event in gymnastics. Now, for me, there is something amazing about these girls doing flips on a piece of wood 3.9 inches wide. What do you think is the hardest event? And couple that with what you think Auburn Gymnastics, what your team needs to work on. What event do you guys need the most work on to get deep into this next NCAA tournament?
I think generally speaking, you can't. The saying in our sport is beam wins championships, and the reason beam is not really. I know this is going to sound crazy, but beam is not really scary for these athletes, and it's not really highly difficult. They're doing way more difficult things on some of the other events. The difference with beam is it exposes your weaknesses. It's a mental game, and it's a consistency game. So just because you're not throwing the hardest thing in the world, you don't get any room for error with whatever you are throwing. So the littlest thing in the world can throw you right off the beam. Right. So that's what I think makes it the hardest, is simply because it's for guys it was the pommel horse. It's the pommel horse for men is like the beam for women. Right. And I just feel like that's what's going to take. We have to conquer beam every year if you want to be able to conquer and get all the way to the end of the season. And beam it's as much here as anywhere else.
So is that where you feel like you guys have the most improvement to make, is on beam?
Oh yeah, because I think we're a fully capable 49.6, 49.7 beam team, but that's try to get 6 young people on the same page every given night when the pressure's on, and try to make them, basically you have to be perfect. All 6 of you have to be perfect on the same night. The best teams find a way to get that done. And we found a way to be really good with 4 of them, sometimes 5 of them, but we haven't found a way to get all 6 on the same page. And that we got to get that figured out if we're going to make it a deep run into the tournament.
Coach, I just want to ask a question about the state of men's gymnastics in general. Like, so you were a men's gymnast, but you chose to coach women's gymnastics, right? So like, what is the reason why men's gymnastics just really hasn't taken off? And what are some things that can help get more young men involved in the sport of gymnastics?
Most of the male gym, like I coached men's gymnastics. My brother coaches men's gymnastics too. We both have done it. There's just not as many opportunities in the men's side as there in the women's side. And I think part of it is there's so many options for men. So, there's football and baseball and basketball and hockey and wrestling. There's just so many options that if you're a really good athlete, you have a 15%, 20% chance of choosing gymnastics as your run. Where in women's athletics, they have some options. They just don't have that huge number of options. So if you're an average sized human and you're in women's gymnastics, and you're a female athlete, women's gymnastics is actually a really good option for you. You're not tall, so you might not go to women's basketball. Or maybe volleyball. You might have to choose between soccer and gymnastics, something like that. Where the men, you could play shortstop. You could be a point guard. You could be on the hockey team. There's some. If you're fast, if you're really athletic, even if you're not big, you can still play football. So there's quite a few options. I think that's really hurt men's gymnastics as they go down, and especially if you look at professional leagues. If you're a really good athlete and you want to make money in the future, you're going to go try for the NFL. You're going to try for the NBA or Major League Baseball or the NHL. And so we've just lost a lot of opportunities for our guys.
Coach, I want to close by just talking about a recent comment you made after you guys beat Georgia about what it's like coaching at Auburn with SUNY Lee. Now, you said, hey, listen, everybody wants to be Auburn with SUNY. Everywhere we go is a circus. I don't think anybody's had to deal with what we've had to deal with in gymnastics, the last couple years. This is a simple question. You feel like you built the best program in the country to this point?
I think if you look at the whole program, if you look at what we've done with the fan base, what we've done with our recruiting, what we've done with our facilities, what we've done with our success in and out of the gym, academics, everything, I think we definitely are in the upper echelon of programs. I think we've proven that other programs can rise to the blue blood level and compete at a high level. I'm not sure I would say it's the best, because you got to win in the end to be the best, and we've come close and we're very competitive, but we have, I still have things left that I want to accomplish. But if you want to talk about like the top 6 or 7 or 8 teams, places in the country, as far as the whole program, the whole perspective, absolutely, we're one of those. I would say we're one of the top 3 places, destinations in the country to do gymnastics. And if we can get enough people to believe that, we're going to win a lot of championships.
Well, let me just follow up there on you made a comment about just a lot of the things around the program, not just the athletes, but what are some of the things that you feel like from the community perspective or from just around NIL or whatever that we could do better as an Auburn community to help support the gymnastics, whether it's upgrades to facilities or what are some of the things that you want to see the program do to progress to that championship or that elite level?
Well, right now we're going to get a small renovation to our locker room here coming up, which is good. It's going to keep us relevant at the highest level. We have a very good facility, but it's an arms race in our sport, like all the other sports.
Yeah.
So it's you gotta focus on that. We have the second oldest facility in the SEC, and even though it's still an effective facility, when you're in the arms race, you're in the arms race, whether you like it or not. I think continually, no, Auburn has been great about trying to keep us up. And we need, but I'm saying we got to continue to do that, because if you want to win, you got to continue to do that. We have to be prioritized as far as, hey, we got front and center. Let's put these guys on the list of what needs to get done. This facility that I'm in was built in 1999 and 2000, and we're getting our first locker room renovation. That's 23 years.
Right.
And in the meantime, I think Georgia's on its second facility and third renovation. LSU's on its renovation. They're on a brand new facility. Missouri's on a brand new facility. Alabama's on its third renovation. Utah's on its second full renovation, and an expansion. So if you want me to beat those teams, those are the things that we've got to keep on track. But it's bigger than that. It's also, how do we travel? How do we encourage these students to show up because they make something special in the environment? That's such a big thing. So we're doing a good job. We're doing a really good job, but we've also got to continue to focus on that. If we want to win, we might need to squeeze a little more juice out of the lemon.
Is this something that you've talked to the new athletic director, John Cohen, about? Have you guys talked about the budget and where you want to see the money spent for your sport?
Not yet. We'll get there. He got here right as I was in full speed, and budgets. We're not talking budgets here for another couple of weeks, maybe a month or so. But the staff has been very receptive. We've talked about it. I'm being heard. That's not the problem. It's just it's new people. I'm excited to have John here. I think he's going to be phenomenal for Auburn athletics. I think he's going to be phenomenal for Auburn gymnastics. I'm very happy with where I am. I think we're doing a really good job. I think I've been supported really well. I just, enough is never enough.
Yeah,
right.
If you want to win, you just got to keep squeezing.
Listen, they figured that out on the football side with a brand new $90 million performance center. I know that Bruce Pearl, has some wants there with a new facility to practice in. So, as you guys continue your success, hopefully, those are things that come to that manifest for you and come to fruition.
Yep. That's exactly how I view it. It's like we gotta keep our eye on the ball.
Well, Jeff, we want to thank you for giving us a little bit of time this morning to talk about your background in gymnastics and the program that you built at Auburn. I know Auburn fans really appreciate the energy and just the excellence that you built around the program. So, Jeff, thanks for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me, guys.
Guys, that's it for another great edition of Building Rapport with Coach Jeff Graba. If you want more content like this, please hit like and subscribe. We are the War Rapport on every single social media platform, TW Rapport on TikTok. Guys, we're signing off, and as always, War Eagle.
War Eagle.
War Eagle.